What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. Today in this video we got a little requested PvP Solar 3.0 Hunter, so I'm gonna be bringing you this. Couple different variations depending on if you're doing like survival or trials versus sixes, where you can have a little bit more fun, even though sixes is also kind of sweaty all the time for some reason. So right here we kind of have a general idea of what the build looks like. We're going to be keeping Wormhusk with these mods, maybe just switching it up depending on what we're using, like a sniper versus a shotgun, but mostly the same thing, so we can keep the stats distributed how we have them now. And Wormhusk, definitely when you're in threes, trials, survival, super clutch, especially with restoration and radiant that we can get procced with dodging as well. It helps you become super tanky and helps with that, because we do have a little bit lower resilience and recovery, but we're still maxing out our mobility and our intellect, so we can get our golden gun / blade barrage super quick. Now this right here is the gunslinger class that I went flawless solo with the freelance playlist this weekend. Super nice with this build having Blade Barrage. I think it's more effective in that threes situation, where it's going to guarantee you at least one kill, if not more, and it's a very good shutdown super when someone pops hammers or something like that with a roaming super Dawn Blade. So it's super nice to shut down those supers inside of the threes, and like I said, it guarantees you a kill. Unlike Golden Gun, you can get knocked out of that fairly easily, especially in a situation like threes where you're getting team shot a lot harder than in sixes. When in sixes, I think the way to go personally is the one right here where you have Golden Gun in 6 shots and then you replenish it when you get those defeats. So this right here is super good at getting like 7th columns and clearing those sixes when you're playing control. So definitely Golden Gun I think is the way to go in sixes, and then Blade Barrage is also good in sixes, but I think more powerful inside of threes. Now for our abilities, with this build, I go Marksman's Dodge so I can get the reload quicker. You can go with Acrobat's Dodge if you want to make you and your nearby allies radiant for that little extra damage, but I like having that option to reload because we have Wormhusk to get our health back. Now I go triple jump in Crucible. I know it's a little weird, people love to use strafe, but triple jump just for me feels more comfortable in situations, so this is what I go with. Now weighted knife is what I also go with for my abilities here, because I think it is the, once again, most effective knife for threes, and just in general with getting those precision shots, it's an automatic defeat and you get your knife back immediately when you get that precision shot, so it's super nice to have that come in clutch. And we can also pair this weighted knife with those exotic arms right here, the Aethera's Embrace, so they can have a little extra bounces and it has that better damage bonus for the knife. So it's super nice to have this inside of sixes, or if you're just going in for a little bit more fun in threes, getting some of those trick shots with these gauntlets is also a very good way to pair an exotic with this build here, instead of using Wormhusk like I was for threes, just because trials is sweaty and that health coming back was super nice. Now for our grenade, I go trip mine. I love how trip mines work in certain maps. Obviously it depends. Bigger open ones not as good, but definitely with the angles that you can have on this map, super nice this weekend for trials. But in general, I just like trip mines. They do a lot of damage and they are very placement wise, instead of just kind of hucking your grenade and seeing what happens. So I go trip mines personally for it. Now for our aspects, we're going to go knock them down as always. So our Blade Barrage has more projectiles and our Golden Gun has increased duration, depending on if we're doing threes or sixes. And then another thing with just our Radiant and Throwing Knife, because we're becoming Radiant with those throwing knives, so it's nice to get that energy back as well. Plus we get a nice 2 mod slots for our Fragments. And then also On Your Mark is super good for Crucible, so when you dodge you get that increased handling and reload reload speed, it automatically stacks up to 3 instead of having to get 3 precision final blows. With our dodge being at 100, we're getting it back super fast, so this is really nice to have that extra handling and reload inside of the Crucible. So right here is the fragments that I used for this build. For me, I go Ember of Solace, so Radiant and Restorations have longer increased duration. So when we get that Radiant via the throwing knife or classy Restoration with our dodge, it has a little bit of increased time, which is nice for that Crucible game. Next off right here, we have Weapon of Benevolence. So when we give that Restoration, Cure, or Radiance to allies, we get increased grenade, melee, and class regeneration. So this right here, being able to grant our allies Restoration and Radiant is super nice because our grenades, our melees, and our dodge come back even faster. So it plays into how we're just dodging to get health back, become Restoration, and then it procs this and we get our abilities back even faster, which again, I love this throwing knife, the weighted throwing knife for those precision shots, and it does a good amount of damage. Next off, we have Ember of Tempering for our third fragment. So Solar Weapon Final Blows grant you and your allies increased recovery, which is nice because ours is a little lacking because our armor is a little low for our hunter, but it's nice to get that solar kills using duality, the shotgun, or using something like Summoner. Super nice to get this to proc, so those are in our weapon options as well. Fourth right here, we have Ember of Char, so our ignition spreads Scorch to our targets. I was using this for increased discipline. This is a slot that you can throw on this right here with Ember of Epicurean, so those solar final blows increase the duration of Restoration and Radiant, or they refill your timer. So this is more of a 6s fragment. I was using this for trials and 3s, so it kind of is a personal preference between these two in that slot, and I personally go with Char. And finally, we have Ember of Torches, so we can use that throwing knife to make us and allies Radiant, which is again a good way to proc our Benevolence right here. So super good for getting our abilities back, and it just plays super well together for this build here. For our weapons, this is kind of how I was playing this weekend in Trials. Stringer, Ace of Spades, Pace of Mind, the Shappy, the old crutch right there, and then Fractithesis, because who doesn't love this as a primary shotgun. Then for our weapons that are solar, this is kind of what I was going in with. We have our Sniper in Far Future, great shotgun with duality. Summoner right here is cracked in PvP and PvE in my personal opinion this season, especially with Solar 3.0. So is the BXR Battler. This thing from Dares of Eternity, I was using it a decent amount this weekend as well. Pairing this with Chaperone was a big go-to for me this weekend, so that was super nice. And then for heavies, this is kind of how I was also running it to pair with that solar. We have fixed odds. Cataclysmic, this thing has some crazy aim assist on it. Wasn't even close to a couple people when I actually destroyed them with it. Then we have our rockets in Ascendancy and Galahorn, one of the best guns, if not the best gun in the game, just for overall everything. And then Xenophage, because they brought back that fast fire. So this was nice to get that easy one shot on Guardians and get it procced with that weapons inside of our fragments. Now for armor, like I said, I didn't build it out any other way besides what I was using for Powerful Friends to give me a little bit more mobility. Sniper rifle, depending on what I was using, the Far Future, or I would switch between that and then obviously something for Chaperone here with targeting. We have Classy Restoration on our class item here to have it so we can have that Restoration proc every time we dodge, and we're going to be getting dodge back super fast with 100 mobility, as well as that fragment with Weapon of Benevolence. When we cause people to become Radiant, we have increased grenade, melee, and dodge regeneration. So it just pairs super perfectly, and Wormhusk keeps us alive on top of Classy Restoration. So the synergy for it is wild. The hunters looking pretty sick. easy, flawless this weekend. We'll probably go next weekend with some friends, hopefully. Just wanted to go and freelance and see how this felt, because freelance does seem to be like my favorite way to play Trials. A little less pressure than going in as a 3-stack or even a 2-stack. Plus Bungie's matchmaking has been atrocious. Every time I go in solo, I'm always going up against 3-stacks with 2 other solos, which doesn't really make much sense to me, but that is for another video maybe. But yeah, this build right here is super crazy. Definitely pairing it with these solar weapons make it even better because of some of the fragments that we're using. Like I said, Blade Barrage, definitely better for 3s and Trials and survival. Golden Gun, it also works, but you can have that chance of getting taken out of it, so that Goldie with 6 shots is better for our 6s, control, clash, whatever it may be. So you kind of build it out how you want for that super, but definitely Wormhusk with these mods to get, depending on what you need and what you're using. Like hand cannon here, I could switch it up and throw it on for these 2. So that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the build. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you guys again for the support lately. It means a lot to me. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.